the final part, this particular series on playing over changes, and as we've said in previous parts of this particular series, we're really concentrating on what makes a rocky sounding D, and taking some of the things we've learnt from playing over changes and using those to embellish the sound of the D. So this is by way of a summary of things that we can do. And so many people say they get to these sort of sequences, oh, I don't know what to do, there's nothing you can do with this sequence. Well, that's not true at all. So here we go. D major pentatonic. We can fruit that up with a little bit of our minor third in there, in other words our passing note. We've also got the opportunity of saying, well, okay, it's effectively a D7th sort of sound, so we can use a G major scale as well. And again, you'll notice those changes of direction in the scale are really important. You know, those sort of ideas where you're putting some twists and turns into the scale. And I'm always banging on about this, but I've done a series on major scale exercises. Good idea to have a look at that and just see if you can get your flexibility into those scales. Hugely important. Okay, so we've got D, major pentatonic, spiced up with a little bit of minor third. We've also got our G scale. And again, just because we're using a major scale doesn't mean to say we can't bend strings, that's fine. We then talked about the possibility of combining major pentatonic and minor pentatonic. Gives us a nice fluent sort of sound. Okay, so we've now got our D major pentatonic, we've got our G scale we can combine with it, we've got our minor pentatonic in D which we combine with the other two. Last but not least, and it's certainly not the last thing we could do with this, but I don't want to over-egg the pudding here. Okay, we need to stay relevant within the style. Since we're talking about a tonality which is effectively D7th, then we can use our A minor pentatonic through that as well. And from previous experience of playing A minor pentatonic with the G scale, that shouldn't be too bad either. So I'm going to play a little line here and then I'm going to tell you what's going on. In fact, I'm going to see if I can do both at once. Okay, D major pentatonic with passing, G scale, back to pentatonic, D minor pentatonic, so now we've got our G scale. Okay, well, what have we got here? We've got A minor. So okay, and no one said we weren't allowed to join ideas together, were we? Okay, there's a couple of notes in there that aren't in the scale or aren't allowed, but if you know where you're setting off from as a solid point musically, and you know where you're going to end up as a solid point musically, then it becomes actually very easy to hear that phrase. Okay, now most of those ideas are fairly much what I call mid-neck of the guitar. I think it's a nice place to work with the guitar because it's a very sonorous sort of place, but then each part of the neck has its own characteristics. So really when you're working on these ideas, it's a great thing to think to yourself, well, where haven't I played whatever it is? So, oh, I haven't played a G scale down here. What if I do on here? Okay, well, okay, there's D7. Okay, what if I... Yeah, you can hear how that works quite nicely. Okay, so that time coming out of the G scale here into A minor pentatonic, back into D major pentatonic. Okay, now there's a load of stuff there to get your teeth into, really, I think. But what's really important about this is just to put the time in. And something I found very useful to do is to play slowly. Now, that may sound an odd thing to do when you're talking about fluidity, but what I tend to do is when I'm working on ideas, I tend to either put the pick down and just play with my fingers, which tends to slow me down a little bit and stops me racing away. Now, why would we want to do that? Well, the reason we want to do that is so that each time we play something, we're making a musical choice rather than just going, this sort of stuff all the time, because that's, you're not hearing that. You may be seeing it and thinking, oh yeah, I'll get to the other end and then do something. That's fine, but we want to try and be as creative as we can. So if we slow that right down and we go, if you feel a tumble of notes coming on, that's great. Use that. But you could really play quite comfortably over this sequence for hours on end and still be finding new things to do with it, if we've got those pieces of knowledge at our disposal. So D major pentatonic, D minor pentatonic, our G scale, our A minor pentatonic, all of those things combine together very nicely. Now, you may find it very hard to believe at this particular point that there's anything else you could play over that. In fact, there's a lot of other things you could play over that, but we're going to keep away from them for the moment because we've got stuff already happening there. And this is as much about your ears getting around these ideas as it is about your fingers, really. So that's why it's very important not just to put too much stuff into things. Anyway, okay, look, that's it for now. So thank you very much for watching, and if you could hit the subscribe button, that'd be great. Okay, cheers for now.